We hope this recording finds you well. My name is Wynne. I am a mathematics teacher here at Cambridge High School. I have taught AP Calculus AB, and I have taught AP Calculus BC, and I currently teach AP Calculus BC.
And I'm Daas. I'm also a math teacher at Cambridge High School. I teach AP Calculus and Honors Algebra 2.
So today what we're going to do is we're not going to read from you a PowerPoint, but we do want to talk a little bit about the similarities and differences between AP Calculus AB and AP Calculus BC, because that typically is what we get asked. So we're going to start with Ms. Daas as she talks about the similarities between the two.
The similarities of both courses are that they both cover topics for a first semester of college calculus. They both cover differentiation and basic integration and applications of it. Where they split is BC goes further than AB does. We take the full year to cover a semester's worth of content. So we take it at a slower pace, but we still engage deeply in the conceptual development as well as the procedural aspects of the course.
And I'll say another place where the two courses are similar is they both really do require a very specific use of algebra. A lot of that deals with factoring, exponents, common denominators, just things that students will have learned in previous math classes, and they're used to varying degrees. I mean, clearly a place where they're different is the volume of content. AP Calculus AB is roughly equivalent to one semester's worth of college calculus taught over a full year. AP Calculus BC is equivalent to 2 semesters worth of college calculus taught over a full year. So in AP Calculus BC, since it's theoretically twice as much material, as you can imagine, the BC class has to move at twice the pace. It does not mean that they have twice the amount of homework. I would say on a nightly basis, the amount of homework is roughly the same, but the pace that the class has to move is a little bit different. So I can say that in AP Calculus BC, we pretty much finish all of the content that AB does in a full year. BC has to finish that by about December, so that when we come back second semester, we are pretty much ready to start the BC specific content. I can also say that for students who are wishing to take an AP exam and try to earn college credit, AP Calculus AB for schools who give that credit, that usually is worth 1 semester's worth of credit versus BC is worth 2.
And also just tagging on the similarities and talking about the prerequisite skills that they need. I do teach Honors Algebra 2. It's now called Advanced Algebra Honors. And we daily in that course teach it in a way in which they can use it, but it's still 2 years later. So memory doesn't always call all of that back. The foundation's in there, but one big suggestion I might have, just because it is algebraically intensive, is whether or not a teacher gives a summer assignment for AP Calculus, whether it be BC or AB, I would suggest working over the summer a little bit to refresh those algebra skills. That will help them to get on the ground running a little bit easier and work through the concepts that are related to calculus itself.
And actually, Ms. Daas, while we're speaking about advanced algebra, can you speak just a little bit about how because it's usually those students who are in advanced algebra honors, we think that their trajectory is to teach AP or is to take AP. Can you talk about what you do differently in an honors class versus what you might do in a non-honors class? Like specifically maybe with the conceptual underpinnings that you stress.
In our advanced algebra honors, we strive every day to put conceptual work into it, whereas non-honors algebra 2 is mainly just procedure and practice and not as much conceptual, and often not a lot. It just depends on what the class can handle. But in an honors class, again, we strive to develop that conceptual meaning and to connect previous ideas to new ones and solidify them with that conceptual understanding. We also assess on it so they can get ready to take assessments with that type of questioning on it.
And I can say as a calculus teacher, I'm very thankful when teachers who teach courses that come before mine do that type of rigor during instruction, as well as holding students accountable for that level of rigor in assessments. Because I can say that, on the AP exam and really even in the class itself, being able to do a procedure will only take you so far. AP Calculus AB or AP Calculus BC, they're both so conceptually rich and both so conceptually deep that if a student has not had that experience, it's almost like they have to run so much faster on that mathematical hamster wheel to keep up with the students who have had that background. So quite often we have parents reach out to us and they ask, well, can my child level up from on level into an honors class or from on level into AP? And while we certainly don't want to make any of those a gatekeeper, or we don't want to ever put up a barrier to that, we try to be realistic and say, the challenge that you may have is if you want the rigor, we want your child to attempt the class, but do know that the grade that your student earned in an on-level class and the grade that a student may have earned in an honors class may look very different. So again, if you have specific questions about that, if that's a concern of yours, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is on the Cambridge High School website, and I can talk to you in greater detail about that. But sometimes grades do become an issue. I will also say, in wrapping up our video, that if you have specific questions about whether or not the school or the university that your student is planning on attending accepts AP credit, like for example, generally speaking, a 3 or higher is considered, and I'm saying this in quotation marks, passing. Every university can set a cutoff for what it prefers. So even though we consider 3 passing, the student has been rated as having proficiency in AP calculus. Places like UGA may say, well, even though a 3 is passing, we require a 4 to give them credit. And again, every school and every university is different. So if you have questions about what the minimum score is for a student to get credit in college, I would just strongly suggest emailing an admissions counselor or possibly the math department at whatever university you're thinking about, and it's just best to go straight to the source to get that kind of information.
Yeah, I agree. I also would like to add, just in the realm of overall choosing AP classes, courses such as AP Calculus AB or BC should be probably in the earlier thoughts of picking. It should not be one to be piled on top of 3 or 4 others. It is intensive. It does require daily work, and the problems sometimes are quite lengthy.
Yeah.
So, or another situation could be you want to add an AP class, but you do have several others. Maybe AP AB would be a better selection than BC in that case, since it isn't such a speed of topic.
That is very true. In fact, I've had that very discussion with my AP pre-calculus students this year, many of whom definitely have the capacity to do AP Calculus BC in and of itself, but sometimes when they describe the other courses that they're taking that are going to be very time-consuming and very demanding, I will sometimes say, you know what, you may want to do AP Calculus AB because that course itself isn't easy either, but it's a lot more forgiving in terms of how much review can be done, as well as how much content you're covering at a time. So yeah, you definitely want to make this decision sort of inside the frame of what else am I going to be responsible for next school year.
Yes, and just as a real-world example, some of my AB students had originally taken BC and decided to level down to AB for this year because their loads were big. But in their course choices for next year, they would like to take BC now that they've had AB, and that is an option as well.
Yeah,
so especially if they are, would that be sophomores right now?
A lot of them would be. Yeah.
So if junior, you have to choose one or the other. But if you're a sophomore, you could do AB first, then BC.
Yeah. And we hope you found this commentary effective. We know that the PowerPoint really is just a high level frame of what we've talked about, and we have talked about a lot. If there's something that we have not touched on that you have questions about, or if we have touched on something and you have further questions about it, do not hesitate to reach out to either one of us. Both our names and our email addresses are on the they're on the Fulton County website, but they're specifically on the Cambridge High School website, and we would be more than happy to try to help you think through all of the perils and pitfalls and all the positives that will come out of taking AP Calculus AB or AP Calculus BC. Take care.